With my position as a mama bear being so revolutionary or influential in the community, it's important that people know who I am and know that there's more people like us. When I told my mother, she said, "I know. Now give me a second." She pulled out her phone. Okay. She called my father and said, "Hey, Bill, guess what? You owe me $20. I had a mental breakdown and I very nearly swallowed the medicine chest. I was not in a good way. So I had a friend stay up with me all hours of the night, and we were just talking, and finally the words came out of my mouth, and I said, I'm a woman. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing for me to finally admit, but once I pushed myself over that barbed wire fence, everything just kind of fell in line and fell in place. I wouldn't call myself anything else except a bear because I have that spirit that everybody else just seems to identify with.
And
learning what a bear is and figuring out how I fit into that came a lot from watching the people who came before me, how they carry themselves, the attitude in which they have and meet people with every single day. I found good people.
Mm-hmm.
My fiance has been my rock ever since. Daniel's been amazing. But these are also the same people who, when their own family is threatened or when there's a serious issue, they're usually the first ones on the front lines ready to kick somebody's ass.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
there's absolutely no reason you should be sticking your nose into anybody else's business like this.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they're right for each other is nobody else's business. Anyone who knows me knows that I have and it's at the very core of who I am, a very fiercely maternal spirit. It was the most terrifying thing I had done in my life up to that point. But I went and did it, and I did it with the attitude of, all right, I'm just gonna make the judges laugh. That's my greatest strength, is making somebody smile.
Okay. Yeah.
History is either being misquoted, it's being rewritten, or it's being outright fabricated, and it needs to not be that way. We need to know how far we've come so we can walk even further. And we can't do that without preserving that. We just need more inclusion and equity. And that's just treating people like they belong.
Yes. Yes.
There's room at the table for everybody, and my presence alone, in defiance of the people who don't want me there, shows that there is.
Yes. Okay.
The imperial court system, if you're curious, started in 1965. It's the oldest LGBT community or charity in the world. The pride flag is a rainbow because there's so many different facets of our community that need to be highlighted. Especially when you're at a convention as a trans woman and people don't want you there, mm-hmm. and they're not shy about it. Mm-hmm. You'd be amazed at the things you can learn. Because conventions like this, they aren't necessarily just one huge sex fest for me.
Yeah.
I go there to interact with everybody and see where everybody's at on whatever particular thing they might be.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Mama's family?
Yeah, well, that's something that I've recently become aware of, that I'm seeking to find people who are members of the family who can share their experience with it. Oh, now this is the Rorschach question that we ask everyone. There is no correct answer.
When I think of what a bear is, or what makes a bear, I think it's the strength of character. It's the courage to stand up for the ones you love and be fiercely protective of them. It's the spirit of the bear. It's not the body type. It's the attitude. That's what the bear is to me. I would like to give you my favorite example of a mama bear. Okay. Because when I think of a mama bear, despite my issues with this woman, this is who I immediately think of. And this is my favorite story. I actually, like, I get a little verklempt every time I think about it. My mother, a woman I hadn't only ever heard stories about getting physically violent about, sprung into action and had this man out cold with a single punch. Does anybody else have a fucking problem? All of them turned around, and all the security guards and the police that were in the area turned around too, because they didn't see shit. The moment I see somebody messing with my cubs, I will absolutely risk going to jail. I don't tolerate it.
The waiver can come in any format that works for you. Either use a computer to write in your answers and send that back, or print it out, fill in your information manually, and take a picture of that is fine. It doesn't have to be fancy. A lot of the leather events, especially you go to, you'll find there's a photo of Mama's family. Whoever is there, they take a picture at most large leather events.
My pins say Mama Rory with my full name on it, Aurora Gainsborough. And on the bottom it says North American Mama Bear.
Great. We're kind of thinking that might be our big kickoff of the two organizations working together.
Just for proof, like, hey, we are all here, and there are more of us than you could possibly think. Daddy Sky is a force to be reckoned with. There is power in her. And that's the only way I could possibly say it.
This guy's husband, I refer to him as the man who invented kissing.
It's essential that the actual people can tell their stories about what they were doing, why they were doing it, why it seemed important. History always gets revised. So when people later on who really don't know what they're talking about start, changing the narrative to fit, other purposes, you can go back to the original source and find out what really happened.
By all means, if either of you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to respond in an email, or if I don't know the answer, I will network and see if I can find somebody who does. Are you telling me that this pin could end up in the leather archives?
Absolutely. Eventually, yes.
Oh, that would be simply amazing.